Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. And everyone, welcome into the program. Today on the show, we have computer and technology news. And you know what? We have a great selection of stories because, a lot happened over the weekend, and I hope that everyone out there is doing well, you're happy, you're healthy, and you're ready for the program today. So before we get started, computeramerica.com, that's where you'll find everything, past shows, future shows, podcasts, articles, reviews. We have an article that we should be posting later today, assuming I am not lazy, and we're going to talk about why companies are so just readily leaving Russia, just cutting services and doing, and just leaving. And there's a number of reasons for that. And we'll discuss all of them in the article. But yeah, so stories like that and more, computeramerica.com, you can find it right there. Now, also while you're there, check out social media links, give us a like, give us a follow, joining us over at twitch.tv/computeramerica Monday through Friday. Let's go ahead and just jump right into the news. So everyone, computer and technology news brought to you by Computer America. So I think that for our first story, we're going to do this article from SpaceNews, not normally a publication that we cover, but it has to do with Russia and Ukraine. And, we're going to start off with a couple of stories about that just to, just kind of give you an idea of what's happening on the tech side of things. And SpaceX is shifting resources to cybersecurity because it's being targeted. It's being targeted with hacks. So check this out. They're saying that citing Starlink jamming near conflict areas, Elon Musk said March 5th that SpaceX will be reprioritized to cyber defense and overcoming signal jamming at the expense of slight delays in Starship and Starlink V2. There you go. In a series of overnight tweets, Musk, founder and chief executive of SpaceX, said that the company was shifting its resources in response to jamming of terminals, presumably in Ukraine. A recent update to Starlink software bypasses the jamming, he added, but did not elaborate. As to what that actually means, I can only imagine that maybe he had the constellation of satellites in low Earth orbit repositioned. That seems highly unlikely, or maybe it's just a software fix. I don't know, but he did not elaborate. So they mentioned that, and obviously this comes after Elon Musk and Starlink have sent terminals to a lot of people in Ukraine, as one of the first things that the Russian invasion kind of did was to cut communication and destroy infrastructure to get, kind of cut the internet off from citizens and of course from the government. This has kept them online in certain places, but now they're, of course, being targeted for jamming. Neither SpaceX nor Ukrainian government officials have disclosed how many Starlink terminals are active in the country. They said that they would reduce terminal power's consumption, allowing it to be powered by a cigarette lighter in a car and to enable roaming on moving vehicles. So there's, Starlink and Elon Musk have been pretty active in getting Starlink to be a solution for very dangerous and sporadic environments, especially when you have people on the move or, so many different things. Actually pretty cool to see. Musk also claimed that Starlink is the only non-Russian communication system still working in some parts of Ukraine. And of course, he said that probability of being targeted is high, please use with caution. And what he means by that is that the data streams could be monitored by the Russian government, and any kind of communications could be intercepted by the Russian government. There you go. However, they mentioned that, So other satellite internet providers in the area have mentioned that cyber events are taking them out. You can imagine that if they're destroying infrastructure, they're also going to try to take down any kind of satellite internet communication as well. So there you go. Okay, so Musk also said that Starlink would not block Russian news sources from its network unless at gunpoint. The European Union has sought to block Russian state-controlled broadcasters such as Russia Today and Sputnik from operating in their countries. The ban extends to internet service providers as well as cable and satellite television companies. But of course, Musk is not going to do that on his network. Honestly, very, very small, and the odds are the people that actually have Starlink in the area and are using it would want to keep a check on the propaganda that is being, kind of spread by RT and other sources. So, makes perfect sense why he wouldn't block that. And it's not really a big deal that he's not. So, there's that one. We have this one, and let's see, this one as well, right? Yeah, this came from a couple of days ago. I think I was also looking at, so there's a website we often pull from, Engadget. They do really, really good reporting. But one thing I kind of noticed, and we're going to do this article, and I was kind of looking at this article as an example for myself. Whenever there's a new article on Engadget concerning Russia and the bans and whatever, like I said, we're going to write an article that covers why companies are pulling out of Russia. The least of which is, we hate the Russian people. We're going to cut them off from everything. That'll really show them. No, that's actually like the last thing anyone wants to do. But there are real legitimate reasons to do this. Now, whenever an article comes up on Engadget, which is a very large organization, part of, it was part of like Turner Group or whatever. But anyways, it's a large organization, and they have a comment section. I was checking out the comment section, and, you get people all defending. They were talking about World War I in Germany. You get people talking, cutting off 140 million people from news. They mentioned this shows why backbones need to be run by neutral bodies. And then you go to the next one. This one was kind of deleted. How many innocent small businesses in Russia are going to be ruined by this? So the U.S., the U.S. is going to attack Russia, but not Israel, stuff like that. Overall, it seems like Engadget has a very poor ability to manage its comment section. Because, there are legitimate reasons, but the only thing that gets kind of upvotes and downvotes are people defending Russia. So I feel like that's a bit of manipulation that's going on over at Engadget. But still, let's talk about this real quick. Internet backbone provider Cogent cuts off services to Russia. And they say that some worry the move will prevent Russians from accessing independent news on the war in Ukraine. And, I just read another article talking about how there are people living in Ukraine, because let's face it, there are people in Ukraine that are descendant from Russians. They have Russian relatives that live in Russia, and they have, their kids or whatever living in Ukraine. They have people in Kyiv that are getting shelled by the Russian military, telling their parents in Russia that, hey, they're bombing all around me. I'm scared. And the Russian citizens going, oh, they would never do that. The Russian military would never do that. Russian sentiment towards believing their government, not believing Western media, doing all these kinds of things. The Russians are going to believe the Russians first, like the population in general. So, that's something you have to kind of keep in mind. Now, why I'm saying this is that this article has to do with an internet backbone, and that's something that's a little bit different. It's not a Western organization. It's nothing like that. But this is supposed to be one of the companies that provide these large cables and just are supposed to be a point A to point B solution as far as internet data goes. But now they're backing out of Russia, and they are a carrier that you might not have heard of, but they carry about 25% of all global web traffic. This is big. So they mentioned that Cogent Communications has begun cutting ties with Russian businesses in response to the country's invasion of Ukraine. The company told the Washington Post it was doing so to prevent the Kremlin from using its network to carry out cyber attacks and spread misinformation about the ongoing conflict. They mentioned, quote, "Our goal is not to hurt anyone, but just not to empower the Russian government to have another tool in their war chest." They mentioned it was a tough decision in a statement to ZDNet. The company said it was also complying with EU sanctions against Russia Today and Sputnik. Cogent is not otherwise restricting or blocking traffic originating from or destined for Russia. Cogent continues to provide services to Ukraine. There you go. The move is expected to disrupt and slow down internet connectivity. Some of Cogent's Russian clients include state-owned telecom Rostelecom and one of the country's largest internet providers. Cogent said it was working with some of those companies to provide them extensions. There you go. Some experts worry that the move will also prevent Russians from accessing information, saying that I would like to convey people all over the world that if you turn off the internet to Russia, then you're cutting off about 140 million people from at least some truthful information. As long as the internet exists, people can find the truth. There will be no internet. All people will believe is the propaganda. So back to what I was saying before, that's really all they're going to believe anyways. It's a very small minority of people that are actually looking for a second source of information inside of Russia. So not that big of a loss. I think people need to come to that realization. So just another sanction and reading. Okay. The last Russian update we're going to do, because it does dominate headlines, the last one we're going to do. Check this out. This one kind of gets me in a weird, humoristic way. Russia is well known for pirating software. That's not an opinion. That is a fact. They have some numbers in this article that we're going to be reading from Ars Technica, saying that, a survey by a Slovakian security company found that 91% of Russians preferred pirated content, with nearly 20% saying that they had installed cracked software. The most commonly cited reason, listed by 75%, is the fact that, the official version just costs too much money. The practice has been institutionalized before. They mentioned back, 10 years ago, Russian ISPs hosted their own file sharing networks where you could presumably download different types of software, movies, entertainment, games, what have you. Russia is very familiar with pirating, but this takes it a little bit of a step further, where the Russian government is considering the idea as more and more organizations pull out from Russia. Microsoft, Apple, Netflix, Pornhub, for instance, lots of different organizations are pulling out of Russia. The Russian government is considering using a part of their legislation and law, and they could extend that to the Russian population, where they're saying that, according to a report from Russian business newspaper, an attorney who specializes in technology law, it's yet another sign of a cyber curtain that increasingly separates Russia from the West. And it's this part where the government has the authority to, it doesn't matter who owns the IP, seize software in defense of home and country. Well, they want to extend that to everyone. Essentially say that, you know what, IPs don't really exist here in Russia anymore. You don't have access to this anyways. If you want to steal it, go for it. That's completely your prerogative, and it's going to be a free-for-all. So they said that the plan would create a compulsory licensing mechanism for software, databases, and technology for integrated microcircuits. It would only apply to companies. So here's the part that also gets me. Get this. It would only apply to companies from countries that have imposed sanctions. So while the article doesn't name names, many larger Western firms are drastically scaling back their business in Russia. So you may wonder, well, if most of the stuff that people want in Russia, Microsoft operating systems or Netflix content, for instance, if they're going to be targeted, why the stipulation about the countries with sanctions? And the short answer is, well, China. China is moving in and filling this technology gap that as Western EU, American software companies, as they pull out, they're leaving a vacuum. China's moving in. And that's one of the reasons why China has been, not so forthcoming on the sanctions that are happening, is because they see a golden opportunity to start selling smartphones, providing internet connection, providing services, sales, all that. China's going to move in like a beast and just fill all of the gaps that these companies pulling out are going to leave. So they mentioned that although China has been, and this is from the article now, although China has been ramping up its criticism of U.S. policies, they're hesitant to undermine its lucrative stake in global trade, saying that Chinese companies have much more to lose than to gain by violating sanctions. For most Chinese companies, Russia is just too small of a market for the business to be worth the risk of getting cut off from other market sanctions, blah, blah, blah. So, they see it as a good chance to get into the market, but they're also not going to be like, hey, America, stop doing this altogether, because they have so much to gain. Now, with that being said, the country has a long history of disregarding intellectual property, especially those from other countries, saying that the most significant example is Winnie the Pooh. Funny enough, they said that when the Soviet Union created the Winnie the Pooh cartoon in 1969, it did so without any copyright holder's permission, even though the Civil Code prohibited such an act. There you go. So you can imagine, even just Winnie the Pooh, that's a fairly well-known entity, completely different in Russia than the rest of the world. So with that being said, that's likely coming. That's what they're considering. And I wouldn't be surprised in the next coming few days if they kind of say, all bets are off, pirate whatever you need to pirate to live your lives. But like we kind of mentioned, the Russian people are not foreign to pirating their own content or, cracking their own software. Seems almost, as I said, institutionalized at this point. So there you go. Now, one reason why that might be difficult, and before we move on, one reason why this might be difficult, even though it's fairly routine for people in Russia to crack and steal and all that kind of thing, software, it's because, a lot of the software that we use nowadays is software as a service. Your Windows 10 operating system is not just Windows 10. It's Windows 10 with continuous updates. Your Netflix is not just a one-time download Netflix and you get all the Netflix content out there. No, it's hosted on Netflix servers and, you have to connect to it. It's a lot harder to pirate software when it's not just a one-time kind of deal. You have to download it, download the software and then connect to other people's servers to then utilize the service that they're providing. So they might consider it, but the true impact of it is going to be very minimal, as you either have to keep updating it yourself and cracking the software every single time, and they may find a way to bypass whatever it is that you're doing to compromise the software, or you would need to either re-download the software every single week or just not use it. So that's why it might be harder than you think to actually just steal the software that they want. So there you go. Okay, 3 more stories, and actually 2 more stories. Yeah, 2 more, because one of them I'm going to kind of roll in with what we've already talked about, but it has things to do with like game industry unites behind call to cut off Russian market, and this will be a reference to that we use for the that'll be a reference that we use for our article that we're writing after the show today. But there you go. Okay, really beyond that, check this out. This will be the bigger story, and then we'll end on one more lighter note. Fairly simple, but second to last story we have here today is that Samsung, any other day, this would be the biggest news story ever, but it, kind of getting lukewarm reception here. Check it out. Samsung confirms hackers stole Galaxy source code, and they said that the same group behind a recent NVIDIA hack has claimed responsibility. So for those that don't recall, NVIDIA was hacked, about 1 terabyte worth of data was stolen. That data included names, email addresses, everything to do with 70,000 employees of NVIDIA around the world, as well as source code for their GPUs. They wanted NVIDIA to limit the light hash rates, remove the software known as light hash rate that killed the ability to effectively mine Ethereum in particular on their graphics cards. And by releasing the source code, which I don't think they've done yet, but I'm sure that they will any day now, they're hoping to remove that limiter and make the drivers open source so that anyone can, kind of work with these graphics cards, on a more fundamental level, which NVIDIA will never do. That's just not good business. Now, this new breach, though, so that was NVIDIA. That's still going on. We'll find out what happens with that here in a couple of days. But I fully expect the full source code to be leaked, and, hopefully nothing else bad happens, but we'll see. Now, hackers have successfully stolen internal company data and source code for Galaxy devices from Samsung, and that's what what Samsung confirmed today. They mentioned that, so it's a hacking outfit called Lapsus $, claiming responsibility, and they're saying that shares screenshots of purportedly showing 200 gigabytes of stolen data, including source code used by Samsung for encryption and biometric unlocking functions on Galaxy hardware. In a statement today, Samsung did not confirm or deny the identity of the hackers, nor whether or not they had stolen data related to encryption and biometrics, but the company said that no personal data belonging to either employees or customers had been taken. So there you go. They said that there was a security breach relating to certain internal company data. According to our internal analysis, the breach involves some source code relating to the operation of Galaxy devices, but does not include any personal information. So in the case of the NVIDIA hack, they attempted to blackmail NVIDIA, and I'm sure that it's not clear if Lapsus has made any threats to Samsung trying to extort specific concessions. I'm betting this organization is looking more for money from Samsung, because you can't exactly farm cryptocurrency from NVIDIA, but like you can from NVIDIA, but I'm sure that extortion is still completely on the table for Samsung. So there you go. Big story. I'm wondering what's going to happen. These hacks aren't the biggest deal in the world. I mean, like normally, years ago, this would have been hugely detrimental. But the fact that, again, software as a service, the software changes iteration after iteration, it might have some immediate effects. And, this could lead to any number of Samsung Galaxy devices being, cracked or hacked into or stolen. Future iterations will, I'm sure, kind of take care of that. So it's a big deal. It's not the biggest deal it could have been, but definitely worth mentioning. Now, our last story that we're going to do has to do with, Microsoft not being hacked, thankfully, but no, keyboard and mouse support. As if you thought consoles couldn't get any better, keyboard and mouse support is coming to Microsoft's Xbox Cloud gaming service. That's right. So they mentioned that Microsoft's Xbox Cloud gaming service recently added Flight Simulator, allowing you to play the game on Xbox Ones, phones, tablets, and web browsers via the cloud. But unlike the PC version of the title, you can't use keyboard and mouse to control your plane. However, that's about to change according to Flight Simulator head. Now, they said that Microsoft is working on adding platform-level support for the feature, suggesting that most games on Xbox Cloud Gaming could eventually include the input method. Saying that, quote, "So the platform team is working on this. I know I can't give a date because it's the platform team, but I don't know their dates, but it's coming. I'm hoping it'll be done by June or so, but you can never tell." So, they said that responding to The Verge, Microsoft spokesperson confirmed the company was working on the feature, but declined to provide a release date. The team is experimenting with touch and gyro, and is excited to embrace mouse and keyboard once it's available for the platform. The point is, keyboard and mouse support would be a useful addition to Xbox Cloud Gaming for a couple of reasons. For one, it would allow PC and Mac owners to play games like Halo Infinite without buying a gamepad. Instead, they could use the peripherals that they have on hand. Second of all, games that don't exactly work with a controller, like Age of Empires, would be much easier to port onto the service. So there you go. Very, very cool. Looking forward to it. And looking forward to potentially having the ability to play any game using any input method on any device. That's always been the promise of cloud gaming, and we'll have to wait and see. But everyone, we're going to keep this short, sweet, to the point. Made it under 30 minutes. That's a rarity. Everyone, we hope you enjoyed today's show. And again, be sure to check out computeramerica.com. We have a lot planned. And I think we even have a giveaway we're putting together here behind the scenes. Be sure to keep up to date with that. And until next time, thank you for tuning into the program. Have a great day. Thank you so much. Catch you next time. Bye, everyone.